Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stamp It Up with Jamie. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Sorry if I'm a few minutes late. I got distracted looking at retiring product. If you haven't done so yet, head on over to Stampin' Up. There's a link on my blog, and the retiring list, well, the last chance items is how they call it, is posted. So all items that will be retiring in the current catalogs, which includes the 2019-2020, as well annual catalog, as well as the current January to June mini catalog. Everything that's retiring is posted. So that's great. Hi everyone. Okay, so I have to say this real quick. I don't know if this is for everyone, but I follow along with comments on my computer and I have subtitles on. Does everybody have subtitles on? Like, is that a thing of my computer or is that a thing of my Facebook? How funny is that? Hi, Michelle. Hi, Karen. Oh, it's so good. This is a great time to join and become a demonstrator because you get to see the new annual catalog and it's very, very exciting. We get to pre-order from it in a couple of weeks and got to peek at it, see all the new ink colors and all the new product. There's so much to look at, and honestly, I've looked at it a couple times and I plan on going back tonight and looking again because there's always things that you miss. So let's just get started tonight. My card is a little different than I normally make. It's got lots of stuff on it. I usually do very simple cards. To be quite honest, I was having a bit of creative block this week. Just trying to come up with something to make. And I saw this technique that's, I believe, Stampin' Up. I could be wrong. I apologize if it was a specific demonstrator. But I believe Stampin' Up put the instructions on how to do this. Oh, captions are on all Facebook Lives now. Oh, no kidding. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm looking at this going, that's weird. Anyway, so I saw this on Stampin' Up, and so I decided to incorporate it. And lots of colors. Karen, I thought of you. I was making the card. I'm like, wait till Karen sees all the colors that are in my card today. She'll be very proud of me. So definitely kind of outside of my comfort zone, outside of what I would normally create. But it's always fun to try new things, kind of to stretch yourself. And you know, try new things. So the flowers that I'm using, the stamp set that it goes with is the Floral Essence stamp set. I'm using the larger one and the smaller one. And I'm also going to stamp the leaf, which I forgot to put on a mount. The sentiment, I wanted one that was photopolymer so I could look through it and make sure I get it exactly where I wanted it. So I pulled out the Timeless Tulips, the hello here. And then some of my die details here, I'm using from the Frosted Bouquet dies. Well, I'll show those in a second. And then I cut out that one leaf using the leaf bunch. So I'm pulling things from like all sorts of different directions. And this is what I ended up with. The color scheme that I'm going with, again, I'm going to show you because there's so many colors in this card, which is so not how I craft. Oh my goodness. But again, you have to try new things. Pretty Peacock, Call Me Clover. So this is one of the ink colors that will be retiring. So if you haven't snatched up the ink pad and re-inker, you're definitely going to want to do so while they're available. Pool Party, Daffodil Delight, and Pineapple Punch. So those are my color scheme that I went with, and I really kind of played around. So let's just hop in here and I'll kind of walk you through as I go along. My card base is Pretty Peacock cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5 here. And I took out there it is, my bone folder. I couldn't find it. So again, Pretty Peacock. Okay. Next, let's, I guess I do this first and then I set it aside, but that's kind of how it works. I know, Karen, all the colors. Who would have thought? It's kind of crazy. You're going to need a bunch of pieces of cardstock cut. So let me just tell you kind of all the measurements and then we'll go from there. And then I'll start layering them up. So from top down, you're going to need a panel of Whisper White cardstock. This is going to measure 3 by 4 1/4. Then you're going to need a smaller, or well, bigger than the Whisper White, but smaller than the card base Pretty Peacock. This measures 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. Then you're gonna need a panel of Pool Party. This is ever so slightly larger. This is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then lastly, you're gonna need another panel of Daffodil Delight. And this was 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 as well. So 4 cardstock cuts, kind of layering. These two are the same size, and then this is the smallest, and it gets progressively larger, one matted on top of the other. Okay. So let's start with our Whisper White. I'm going to be using the, oops, hold on, Parisian Flourish embossing folder. Lots of layers too. I know, Karen. I don't know what's gotten into me this week. Colors and layers. I mean, I do like layers, but it's a much busier card than I normally do, for sure. Okay, so what I had seen on Stampin' Up! Do is they kind of separated embossing and they did it straight. But for my card today, I'm going to do my embossing on an angle. So open up your embossing folder, and you're going to want to put it on an angle. And again, depending on where you want this break is how high or how low, or even at what extreme of a diagonal that you put your cardstock in. So if I kind of want my paper half, I'm going to kind of put it there, you know, more or less. I'm not trying to be too exact, but I kind of wanted a little bit 1/3, 2/3, so I put my embossing folder a little bit higher. And I wanted an angle, but I didn't want anything too severe. So let's go with this. And then afterwards I can measure it for you to see kind of the exact, if you wanted to be very particular, you can measure it, put like a little pencil line and have sort of a guide. But I figured we could just eyeball it tonight. So I'm gonna run it through my die cutting machine here. Now this is very important that you put it into your embossing folder the same way each time, so that you don't get one positive embossing and then one negative embossing. So I ran it in this way. I gotta make sure that I run it through. I wouldn't want to flip it over, because then I would, does that make sense? Right? Now that I flipped it, which way did it go? Now that I flipped it. Okay, I went that way. So I've only done half, or 3/4, I should say. And now I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my sentiment. Again, the sentiment is from the Timeless Tulips stamp set, the hello right there. And I'm gonna stamp it in the Pretty Peacock ink. This is in color, but it will be sticking around for 1 more year, and I love it. So again, photopolymer is what I would highly suggest if you're doing this, so that you can get an exact placement. You wouldn't want to accidentally, you could use cling. It would just be a little bit harder, maybe. You just don't want to go over what you embossed, I guess. Okay, so stamp that right above what you just embossed. I'm going to flip it over. And what I'm going to do is line up my edge of my embossing folder right up to my previous embossed line, because I want it to be parallel. I don't want it to be like, like this. I want it to be kind of at the same angle. So I'm going to line up my embossing folder and then try, going to try and do this, to kind of pull it out at the same angle. I really want it to be just about as parallel as possible. Keep in mind that in your embossing folder there is, here, let's see, let me get my scissors. There's a little bit here where the embossing doesn't go over. So you don't necessarily want to go according to the end of your embossing folder, more to the edge of where the embossing stops. If that makes sense. Okay, and I'm going to run it through my die cut machine again, die embossing machine again. Hopefully this works. Hey Penny, so glad to have you here tonight. And that's what you end up with. Oh, it must have shimmied a little bit. Okay, it's not exactly parallel. I think it shimmied a little bit. I think I hit it. But my flowers are going to kind of cover that. Okay, let's do my layering here, and then we'll work on my flowers. So I'm going to, whoop, wrong one. This gets adhered over the Pretty Peacock matted. So this is just 1/8 bigger, ever so slightly. Okay, and then I played around with colors so much and decided to mat again. Normally I only do one mat, but I decided to do two, this time on the pool party, excuse me. Okay, and I wanted to just add a little bit of pop of color, bringing out the yellow that I'm going to eventually stamp. And so I offset just a little bit, oops, a little bit of Daffodil Delight. It's such a little peekaboo. It's barely even showing, but just enough so the color comes through. And then all of this gets matted on my card front. So make sure when you're adhering this down that you're making your, not the Daffodil Delight straight. You want your other, well, that's how I did it at least. I want this to be straight, my blues. The yellow is the one that's supposed to be offset. Okay, and I think you could, if you didn't want to do all this jazz, you could just leave it just like this. It would be very pretty. You could change the sentiment up if you wanted. But I decided to keep going. Why stop when you can keep going? So I have a pineapple punch. Although, hold on a second. Did I want to? Yeah, I want to do the pineapple punch. I would have used pineapple punch cardstock, but believe it or not, I am completely out. I don't have not even the slightest scrap of it left. And so I have to order more so I have some. But I'm out. I'm completely out. So this is pineapple punch ribbon, but Daffodil Delight cardstock. Again, that's so not like how I stamp. I usually am very devoted to colors, but you know, it's good to try new things. This measures 6.5 inches. I don't know exactly how much I use. That's just, I may end up trimming it a little bit. That's what we're going to start at. And for mine, all I did was use snail, but it's a little wiggly. So I think I'm going to pull out my tear and tape. You have a lot. Do I want it? No, you keep it, Karen. You know it's yellow. You know how I feel about yellow. Okay, so I have a piece of tear and tape here. I'm going to, I don't want it too big. Well, I guess it's not going to show. But I'm just going to kind of put some down. I'll save that. Because the tear and tape will hold it just a little better. Again, I just used snail and just kind of kept layering the snail. But, oops, come on. Okay, so first we're going to start with that ribbon. I just kind of did, I kind of folded it on itself like that. Hold on a second. Okay. Fold it. You can either kind of fold it down or fold it up. I don't know how. I think I folded it down on my card. But if you fold it up, the tails kind of come up a little bit. So let's do that. And I want it kind of going off a little bit. The tails might need to be trimmed a little bit eventually. But whoop. Ah! Don't mess with it like I did. Leave it, adhere it, and walk away. Again, I used the Frosted Bouquet dies. These are beautiful. And I used this guy, which I think has to be one of my favorite dies. It's just a really sweet detail. And I cut one out in Pretty Peacock cardstock. Then I used this guy, which is kind of like an outline. And I cut him out in Call Me Clover. And I just adhered the Call Me Clover kind of to the left. And the Pretty Peacock kind of to the right. Do I have enough there? Yeah, I do. I think. I'm going to put a little bit more adhesive down there because I really want to make sure he's not going anywhere. Come on. So this is all going to be covered with the flowers. So you really can just keep putting adhesive down to make sure it's secure. So the Pretty Peacock I kind of have going to the right there. I know, Rachel, aren't they so pretty? Hi, Rachel. They're so pretty. I love this kind of sprig. It's just a little detail, very subtle. Okay, then we're going to stamp the leaf, which I forgot to mount, so I got to grab a mount. From the Floral Essence stamp set. And he's going to get stamped in Call Me Clover ink. Again, Call Me Clover will be retiring, so if you don't have it, you're running low, be sure to stock up because Once it's gone, it's gone. Stamp it straight. It'll be easy to punch out if you stamp it straight as opposed to on an angle. Oopsies. And then the leaf punch. Slide your leaf in, line it up. Ever like that. And then punch them out. And then the leaf, do I need more adhesive? Oh, he's not very secure. I'm going to put a little bit more adhesive down. You know, I'd rather have everything really well stuck than, you know, I go to mail this to someone and they get it in pieces and everything's falling apart. So let's do it right the first time. There. Okay. Next, I'm going to stamp my flowers. We're going to start with the big eye here. And I'm going to use my same piece. The first one's going to get stamped in Pool Party ink. Love Pool Party. Probably one of my go-to. Well, I just love blues, honestly. Blue. Oh, needs to be re-inked. And then the other one, I actually stamped in Pineapple Punch. I can't believe it. I did the yellow, but I don't know. It's the season to try new colors. It's the season to stamp with yellow. Leaf Punch is retiring too, yes. I don't know. I'd have to go in and look, Terry. I guess I should have checked to see what's retiring against what I am using. Let's see here. Hold on. I'll get back to you, or maybe someone else can look it up. Amy's favorite yellow, I think. Okay. Next, I'm going to use this guy for the big one, and then this one for the small one to stamp their little insides. What's the inside of a flower called? I don't know. I'm trying to see here. Yes, it is. Leaf Punch is in the retiring list. Yep. Sorry, Terry. Nope, that's okay. It is. The Leaf Punch is retiring, and probably the Frosted Bouquet is too. Yep, it is. The dies are retiring as well. Thank goodness the site's alphabetical. I could just scroll quickly to the letters. So I'm stamping the little bits of the flower, inside of the flower, in Daffodil Delight ink. Subtle, like that. The Floral Essence, let's see here. Floral, I don't see the oh wait, yeah. I don't see the Floral Essence, so the stamp set must be carrying over, and I know the Timeless Tulips is carrying over. There we go, a stamen. Thank you, Rachel. I had no idea. I'm so not well versed with flower or anything. Okay, so next you're gonna have to get out your snips. Now for all of you that hate fussy cutting, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. So I already did the blue one ahead of time. That's already done. And then this yellow one, I like to kind of trim it down. It's easier to cut if you have a smaller piece of paper. So go close, but I like to leave sort of a white border. It's a little bit forgiving, I feel like, when you're cutting. And just go slow, take your time. I know not everyone loves fussy cutting, Amy, but but just go slow. These were easy because there's not it's not like, goodness, that Free as a Bird paper. You have to go really slow. But this is kind of simple curves, nothing too crazy. Okay, so that's, except I don't like pointy ends, so I just have to go back and touch up those, I guess. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's maybe not my best cutting ever. Go slower than I did. Take your time. I guess I should have cut that one out ahead of time too. Okay, and then these I adhered down with dimensionals. Of course, I forgot to get them. There's my minis. And all I did was I put my dimensionals right onto my cardstock here, because I kind of want them not necessarily at the highest point where all my layering is, just because it makes for an uneven makes it to be uneven. And hold on, before I actually put these down, let's get an idea where I want them. I want them kind of like that. So that one will go there, and I need another dimension farther out, like there, like that. And then that one, because I really want the blue one to be on top and not the yellow one. There we go. I'm gonna trim that just a second, just a little bit. Oops. I have to say, this is really funny. I should have posted this, but yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Yeah, yesterday I think it was. I cut my husband and my son's hair because I just couldn't take it anymore. Their hair was so long, I'd had it. So I said, that's it, I'm cutting your hair. And so I used the whatever, the buzz things on the bottom, but then at the top I had to like snip it. So I use my paper snips. They're the sharpest scissors I have in the house. And so yeah, a whole new purpose of crafting scissors is now become hair cutting. So I thought that was kind of fun. And it came out really well. Who knows? Who would know, right? That I could actually somewhat cut hair. It was kind of funny. Anyways, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. That's how I made tonight's card. I hope you like it. If you'd like a chance to win it, be sure to leave some sort of a comment. As soon as this is done, I'm going to throw all the names in a pile and draw a name for someone to receive tonight's card. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. Be sure to go to the website, check out all the last the product that's retiring, and get it while you can. It's all while supplies last, the last chance product. So you're not going to want to miss out on anything. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone, tonight. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.